Hello, everyone. First, I just wanted to say how thankful I am for the opportunity to stand here and share my testimony with all of you. My name is Gabby Major, and I am the oldest of 6 kids, which means that my life at home is never boring. Being the oldest comes with responsibility. I'm supposed to set an example for my sibling. For the longest time, I thought setting an example meant I had to be perfect. Like I couldn't mess up, couldn't show weakness, couldn't admit that I didn't know what I was doing. But what I have learned is that setting an example does not mean being perfect. It means being honest. Honest about your struggles, your doubts, and the way God is working in your life. And to me, that is actually way more powerful than trying to put on a mask of perfection. I was born and raised Catholic. My family went to Mass, we prayed before meals, and I knew all the right answers in religion class. But for a long time, my faith wasn't really mine. It was just something that I went along with because it was what I grew up with. It was like breathing air. It was always around me, but I never stopped to actually notice it for myself. It wasn't until high school that my personal faith journey really began. Freshman year, to be completely honest, all I cared about was how other people viewed me. I wanted to fit in, I wanted to be accepted, and because of that, I pretended like the faith didn't matter to me. I didn't want people to think I was too religious or that church girl, so I stayed quiet about my love for Jesus. I laughed at jokes that I didn't actually think were funny. I went along with things even when I didn't feel right about them. And deep down, I was pushing my faith away, trying to keep it hidden. Looking back, I realized I was living in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of standing out, fear of being labeled. And I think so many of us know what that feels like. We believe in Jesus, but we are scared of how people will react if we actually show it. Maybe for you, it wasn't about faith, but something else you loved or believed in. That tension between who you really are and who you think people want you to be is exhausting. And for me, it meant dimming my light so no one would notice. But here's the thing, faith is not meant to be hidden. Jesus tells us in chapter 5, verses 14 through 16, that we are the light of the world. He literally says a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. But as a freshman, I was hiding my light. As school went on, something began to shift. I started attending faith-based events like Restore and Pack the Chat. At first, I went quietly, almost like I did not want anyone to notice. But every time I went, I felt something in me grow. It was like God saying, Gabby, this is who you are. This is where you belong. Those events started small for me. Sometimes I would just sit and listen, but over time, they built something in me. I started being less afraid of rejection, less afraid of judgment, less afraid of standing out, less afraid of being labeled. Through finding my faith, I also found my confidence. Confidence not only to show up, but confidence to be myself, to stop pretending. But even then, I was not all the way there. Because while I was growing in my faith, I was still surrounded by the wrong people. I had friends who didn't share my values, and even though I loved them, they kept me from fully living out my faith. I had one foot in the church and one foot in the world, and I couldn't quite pick which direction to go. One minute, I'd be sitting with my friends, gossiping about someone behind their back, judging people I didn't even know, or laughing at things that deep down I knew weren't right. And the next minute, I would be at Mass or praying, acting like I was some perfect Catholic. And then the second I walked out of that door, I would fall right back into the same habits. It felt like I was living 2 different lives, and I hated it. I hated the feeling of being split in half. When I was in the faith community, I felt alive. But when I was with certain friends, I felt pressured to be someone else. And trying to keep up with both versions of myself was exhausting. I wanted to please God, but also didn't want to lose the approval of the people around me. And that is when it hit me. You can't fully follow Jesus with just part of your life. You can't give him one foot while the other foot is planted somewhere else. Because eventually, you are going to have to choose which direction you walk. And that tension pushed me to start praying. So I prayed and prayed and prayed some more. I asked God to help me figure it out. I expected him to give me some clear answer, like a voice from heaven or a perfect moment where I knew just what to do. But that is not how God worked in my life. Instead, he started removing people. Friendships began to fade, people drifted away. And honestly, it hurt more than I can ever explain. I remember sitting in my room some nights, scrolling on my phone, realizing that the people I once talked to every single day just weren't there anymore. It felt like I was on the outside looking in. Everyone else seemed to have their group, their people, while I felt left behind. And it was lonely. But even deeper than that, I was mad at God. I didn't want him to take away the people that I loved. I didn't ask him to end my friendships. I asked him to fix them. I wanted him to just make things better, to change people's hearts, to make it so that I could have both my old friends and a strong faith. And when that didn't happen, I felt confused. I thought, God, if you're supposed to love me, why are you taking away the people I care about? Why are you making me feel so alone? There were times I even pulled back from prayer because I didn't like the way God was answering me. It felt unfair. It felt like he was ignoring what I really wanted. And maybe you've been there too. When God doesn't answer in the way you hoped, and instead of feeling comforted, you felt frustrated. That's where I was. But here's what I eventually realized. God was not punishing me. He was not being cruel. He was protecting me. He knew what I couldn't see yet, that those friendships, as much as I cared about them, weren't going to help me grow. He knew that if I stayed in those circles, I would always feel torn in two. And sometimes the only way God can make room for something new is by first clearing away what doesn't belong. And that is exactly what he did. Once those old friendships faded, he began to place new people in my life. At first, it was little things like a classmate I could sit with, someone who invited me to pray with them, a friend who encouraged me to go to an event. Slowly, God surrounded me with people who challenged me, who supported me, and who reminded me that following him was worth it. These weren't just friends who liked me for who I was, they were friends who loved me enough to push me closer to Christ. And that is when I realized something really important. Living your faith inwardly is good, but it is not enough. At some point, you have to live it outwardly. You have to let people see it. You have to be bold. Now, I can confidently say that I love Jesus. I'm not afraid to tell people that anymore. I don't hide it. I don't water it down because my confidence does not come from me. It comes from him. Here's the lesson that I've learned and the one that I want to leave with you. Being bold in your faith does not mean that you have to be loud or perfect or have all the answers. It simply means being unashamed of Jesus. It means living in a way where people don't have to guess what you believe. And I know that that's not easy. It takes courage, it takes prayer, and sometimes it takes losing things or even people you thought you needed. But when you step out in boldness, you'll discover that God always fills the gaps. He always gives you what you need. So here's my challenge for you, and really my challenge for myself too. Don't hide your light. Be bold. Say yes when God nudges you. Speak his name even if your voice shakes. Show up to events. Pray out loud with your friends. Invite someone to Mass. Post that Bible verse. Wear the cross. Don't be afraid to let people know who you belong to. Because when we live boldly in our faith, it doesn't just change us. It changes the people around us. And you never know who might come to know Jesus because you decided not to be silent. Thank you.